And I don't score 1 point the entire summer.
Really?
Not one. Not a free throw, nothing. Not a lucky shot, not a breakaway layup, 0 points. And my parents, growing up, they instilled in me the importance of imagination, of curiosity, and understanding that, okay, if you want to accomplish something, I'm not just going to sit here and say, yes, you can do whatever you want. Yes, you can, but you have to also put in the work to get there. And when you grow up as a kid thinking that the world is your oyster and all things are possible if you put in the work to do it, you grow up having that fundamental belief.
Yeah.
It was really influential at a really critical time where I had a summer where I played basketball where I was like 10 or 11 years old. And here I come playing and I don't score 1 point the entire summer.
Really?
Not one. Not a free throw, nothing. Not a lucky shot, not a breakaway layup, 0 points. And I remember crying about it and being upset about it. And my father just gave me a hug and said, listen, whether you score 0 or score 60, I'm going to love you no matter what. Now that is the most important thing that you can say to a child. Because from there I was like, okay, that gives me all the confidence in the world to fail. I have the security there. And I tell this to my daughter and my daughter's team as well that I coach. And I go to practice and I'd train and I'd play the game and I'd come home and I'd be sore and I'd be tired. And she wants to go swimming, she wants me to take her to the park, she wants to just jump on my back or whatever the case may be. You can't say, I'm too tired, I'm going to lay down. That's not fair. She don't know what the hell's going on.
And what brings you the most joy right now?
Being with my family.
Really?
That is the most fun. Like sometimes I'd fly back. Like I'd play a game to not miss my daughter's birthday. I'd fly back, be there for her birthday, and then fly back with the team. Just to make sure I don't miss anything. Hanging out with them all summer, being able to like do things that I ordinarily couldn't do.
Yeah.
Because of training, because of season and stuff like that. So being around them and watching Bianca grow up, because there are a lot of things that I missed with Natalia and Gianna because I was playing. So being there every day with them is so much fun, man. So.
And what does love feel like for you?
I think I would describe love as happiness. I think I'd describe it as a beautiful journey. It has its ups and downs, right? Whether it's in marriage or whether it's in the career, things are never perfect.
Yeah.
But through love, you continue to persevere and you move through them. You move through them. And then through that storm, beautiful sun emerges. Yeah. Right? And inevitably another storm comes. And guess what? You ride that one out too. So I think love is a persistence to go through the good times and the bad times with the someone or something that you truly love.
We leave tonight with an essay written by Howard Beck from Bleacher Report. I saw a tweet from him earlier today where he said, I started crying on my keyboard again. I have a feeling it was while he was writing this.
We remember. Kobe Bryant wasn't just a Laker. He was, as Magic himself said, the greatest of them all. A friend, a father, an icon. We see it now as Kobe plays on in towering murals and forearm tattoos, in meticulously painted fingernails and simple pencil sketches. In carefully arranged flowers and basketballs and jerseys, and altered subway signs, and changed lives. Kobe was beloved unlike any other. He captured the hearts of an entire generation. He was even introducing us to the next one.
Kobe and his daughter in the building.
It's the way he made us feel. From even the littlest fans to his very own daughters. Like no dreams were out of reach. Like nothing was impossible. He set out to be like Mike, and here we are, wanting to be like Kobe.
Kobe! 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 shoot paper balls in the trash can. Kobe!
He helped forge a dynasty, tore it down, built another. That was the audacity of Kobe. Inspiring and maddening. He made us believe we too could be the greatest. We just had to put in the work, like Kobe.
We're gonna do it for Kobe.
We just had to dream big, like Kobe. We just had to keep going, like Kobe. So we don't just grieve. As fans, we remember the man and the lesson. With every 8 and every 24. With every tossed ball of crumpled paper. We sing his name. We channel his spirit. We silently run down the shot clock.
Mamba out.
We remember, and we play on.
You know, I must admit, when he was first drafted, I wasn't initially a Kobe Bryant fan at all. I grew up a huge Michael Jordan fan. And so when Kobe came on the scene, I felt he was a threat to the greatest of all time. You know, so I mean, some people still want to debate that, but he was a threat to that. And I was telling the first congregation, you know, I had a coach that would get on social media, and he would always once a year have a debate. Who's the greatest? He would say, you know, Michael wasn't nothing without Scottie Pippen. And I would say, well, Kobe wasn't nothing without Shaq. And we just go back and forth just the whole time. And, you know, then LeBron came to the Lakers and Josh was devastated. He was just really hit hard with that. And he hated, and he started feeling what I was feeling when Kobe came on the scene and tried to detract away from MJ. He started feeling that when LeBron came on the scene. And but I know it's still hard for you. I know you're still getting through it. I would have had the same issue if Kobe joined the Bulls. I would have had the same issue. But you know, I was always on the other side of the debates. But still admiring his killer instinct, still admiring the Mamba mentality, the work ethic that he demonstrated. I was even a bigger fan of the man he had become, how he admired his girls, how he loved his wife. He was one of the men that somehow, and all the craziness, kind of held it together after seeing his marriage on the brink of collapse from 2003 with the sexual assault case and Vanessa filing divorce in 2011. By 2013, they had reunited and they grew stronger in the last last years of his life. And I started thinking about how his relentless competitive drive in the gym drove his fire to keep his relationships together. He showed men and women how to survive the worst in life to become the best in life, really giving people his heart. So many stories of people who would come up to him, and he was just so approachable. One of the gentlemen who coached Josiah in Pop Warner and took us to a few Orange Bowls, he coaches basketball for his daughter, and they're the #1 team in the state. So they played Kobe numerous times over the last 3 years. And he said when they first played Kobe, one of the directors called and said, "Hey, just want to give you a heads up. You're going to be playing Kobe Bryant's team tomorrow. I need you to talk to your parents to chill out. Don't crowd them, everything. Don't go crazy because you see Kobe Bryant. He'll be there. You're going to play with him." And so he was like, "Okay, I'm good. I'll be okay. I'm fine. I'm going to keep this professional." He said, I didn't tell my girls because I don't want the girls to be starstruck. And, you know, I want to beat Kobe. I want them to keep their head in the game. You know, he was just telling me the story. And he said, you know, so he's sitting there and you know, when basketball, you're on the sideline, the coach's sideline, here are the chairs, and then that's Kobe and the chairs, and the girls are warming up. And he said he was looking over at Kobe, and he said, I couldn't help myself. I said, "Hey, Kobe, how you doing? Hey, Kobe, how you doing, man? He said, I can't help myself. And he said he was so approachable. He talked to him, and he had told him he had been coaching. My friend had told Kobe he had been coaching for 20 years. Kobe said, well, how is it? And he was asking questions. Here, this 5-time NBA champion is asking me questions about coaching girls basketball. And he said, we won 25-21. We played again a couple of weeks later. They beat us. And then we played again, and we got a little trash talking. I was trash talking him. He was trash talking me, and we were getting into it. But then after the game, we were hugging each other, and we would see each other in tournaments. He'd embrace me. Hey, Sean, how you doing? And he said one time we played a big game, and we beat them. And Kobe comes after the game, and he says, hey, Sean, can you get me that tape? He said, what tape? He said, one of your parents was filming the game. Can you get me the tape of the game? He said, oh, yeah, Kobe, don't worry about it. So he sent the tape to him. He said they played again, and they killed me. He said Kobe scouted an 11-year-old game and killed me. That's Kobe. That's that Mamba mentality. Kobe said this. Show that first slide for me, Jason. He once said this. When you make a choice and say, come hell or high water, I'm going to be this, then you should not be surprised when you are that. It should not be something that's intoxicating or out of character, because you have seen this moment for so long that when the moment comes, of course it is here because it's been here the whole time, because it's been in your mind the whole time. This morning, what do you see for your family, for your marriage, for your relationships, your ministry, your career, your life in 2020 and beyond? Dr. Seuss once wrote this. I posted it yesterday. You will never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. This moment that you have, what do you see for your children, for your grandchildren, for the generations to come? 2020, it represents a new season. It is the year, we have dubbed it the year of vision and strategy. But it's not just a new year, it is the fruit of 365 days you sowed in 2019. It is a moment of clarity. Watch this, it's the harvest of the past 10 years of your life. The reward of not only a new year, of new moments, but the reward of a new decade, if God gives you that, to assimilate everything we've learned into new strategies, into new parenting, if you're in business, in the new processes, relationship building, goals, visions, and dreams. And our losses in 2019 do not define us. From our losses, we learn things. By 2020, we know what works and what doesn't. For example, I know what will drop pounds on this body and what will add pounds on this body. Regardless of if I do it, sometimes I'm waiting for the fast to do that. But I know, I understand how I'm going to drop pounds and how I'm going to add pounds. I know how to regulate and keep my blood pressure where it should be by exercising, and I know what will happen if I don't do some of those things. I know what will start arguments with Anna and what will stop arguments with Anna. I understand how to have productive days at work, how to procrastinate at work, how to be powerful with people, how to be passive with people. We know by now what we don't want to live with, what needs to change in our life, whether we make the changes or not. We understand the things that need to change right now. And that daily routine that we're submitting to in life is either killing or strengthening your dreams or relationships. Like basketball in this church, we have goals, we have new seasons that come, teams or rosters that are constantly growing and maturing and changing. We have veterans, we have rookies, new souls that we have to disciples. We have recruits, people in our lives who are on the cusp of receiving Jesus. And we know they're so close to receiving Jesus, and we don't want to put too much pressure, but yet we still want to be Jesus, be his hands and his feet and his mouthpiece when speaking with him. We have coaches. We have pastors. We play for championships every single day, to be champions in life and champions in the lives of people. We exist to have more wins than losses. If you're angry and you struggle with anger, your job is to have more wins of not being angry than the losses of getting angry. And you being able to see if you're winning in life is paramount. Champions, to be champions of marriage, champions of parenting, of soul winning, to be champions in business for the hurting, for the homeless, for the underserved or underrepresented. And every time I think of this tragedy, I really remember my frailty. How much I fall short of the glory of God. How much I fall short of His utmost plan and purpose and dream for me. How great I need Him. A song we used to sing years ago. I need Thee, oh, I need Thee. How great my need is for Him. His mercy, His protection, His grace, His forgiveness, my nothingness with me. How much more Jesus is calling me to in my lifetime, in my family. How much more He's requiring of me, because to be very honest with you, my forgiveness isn't where it should be. Sometimes I hold on to things. I replay something that's been said to me over and over and over again too long. Sometimes I'm slack concerning the promise and the call and the will of God on my life. And so I've thought about this tragedy, perhaps like you, every single day. Many times with theories or unanswered questions, regrets, questions. Man, why didn't they take a limo? Or man, why didn't they turn back in the fog? But this was Kobe's taxi. This was Kobe's method of transportation for 17 years. The pilot was considered one of the best. I know there's some talk about him not being certified, or the plane not being certified to drive, to pilot, to navigate in the fog, but he was considered one of the best. There was a guy recently on the news who said he flied in that same helicopter with that same pilot a year ago to Catalina to surprise his wife on their anniversary. And there was fog there. He simply rose above the fog and went down. I was talking to Anna recently, and I was saying to her, man, in planes, you got two pilots, but in helicopters, you got one. So if he becomes disoriented, or if the pilot that you have is struggling that day to see someone, if anything happens, the other pilot can take over. But in the helicopter, it's one guy. And then God kind of quickened my spirit and said, well, so is there one pilot and one guy in an Uber that you're driving. In an Uber, it's the same thing. When you're driving and people are next to you, there's one guy or one person. At any point, they can flip the lane and get I started thinking about that. And the common denominator is nothing is guaranteed in life. Don't you dare take for granted any moment and let it become a memory in your life, because nothing is guaranteed. Jesus began to just remind me, there's one pilot, but if I'm in the driver's seat, no matter what happens in life, death has lost its sting. Death has been swallowed up in victory. Following this death of his former teammate, Shaq announced that he would work on some amends with any enemies he had. And he said this, if Jason, you can show that slide. He said, I'm all about being hard and all that, but I'm going to have to delete the beef. Wasn't there a commercial about that some years ago? Something about beef, I'm forgetting about it. But he said, I'm going to delete the beef and any confrontation clauses. I don't want to do that anymore. I guess I'll just call all the people I've had discrepancies with and say, look, man, I love you. Kendrick Perkins had been fighting with Kevin Durant on Twitter, making comments about their game, and they was really getting bad. After the Kobe tragedy, he reached out to Kobe, and he said this, if you can show that. He said, just wanted to tell you, he's talking to KD, I love you, my brother, and whatever I did to hurt you, I'm sorry, bro. I hope you forgive me. I love you, bro. Real talk. Kendrick. And we haven't heard from Kevin yet, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. We have to get to a place where we're loving like that and where we're willing to change in areas of our life, regardless of if people change. Because we have to live with ourselves. We have to live with him. We have to live, make sure we're not living in offense with God or man in our life to protect the blessing of God on our life. Jesus said this in Matthew 5:45 to 48, Passion Translation. He said, your ancestors have also been taught, love your neighbors. In the Aramaic, that definition also means your relatives, love your relatives, and hate the one who hates you. However, I say to you, love your enemy. Bless the one who curses you. Do something wonderful for the one who hates you, and respond to the very ones who persecute you by praying for them. For that will reveal your identity as children of your heavenly Father. He is kind by bringing the sunrise to warm and rainfall to refresh, whether a person does what is good or evil. What reward do you deserve if you love only the lovable? Don't even the tax collectors do that. How are you different from others if you limit your kindness only to your friends? Don't even the ungodly do that. Since you are children of a perfect Father in heaven, you are to be perfect like him. Now, before that word perfect messes with you, here's the definition of it. Can you show us that, Jason? The definition in Greek and Aramaic for perfect can also mean whole, complete, fully mature, lacking nothing, all-inclusive, well-rounded. Oh, I love that. Bless you. All-inclusive, well-rounded. So praying for and loving my enemies are those that are unlovable, or those that despitefully use me, or those that seek harm for my life, not only changes my heart, but it makes me perfect. It makes me whole, complete, fully mature, lacking nothing, all-inclusive, well-rounded. Repeat that. Whole, complete, fully mature, lacking nothing, all-inclusive, well-rounded. That's good. It boldly declares to me that I am not a child of wrath. It reveals my identity as a child of God. I am not a child of resentment or bitterness. I am not a child of vengeance. I'm just like him. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Come on. Come on, look at someone and say, I'm a lover, not a fighter. Now, I need you to catch this for a minute, because Jesus was the greatest fighter and the greatest giant killer ever seen in the history of life without laying a finger on anyone. He simply did it by laying his life down. But he understood that by doing that, God could resurrect something that could defy the critics in his life. God could raise up something and someone in your generation that your family has never seen before. And so it's okay to love without expectation. Come on, look at someone and say, it's okay to love without expectation. In fact, some of the best love that I've experienced in my life is when I've been able to love or give to someone that cannot love or give back to me. Some of the greatest moments have been when I've been able to pour myself into someone that could not give it back to me. That's the love of Jesus. So we don't have to be callous because people have hurt us or because the pain has been so great. But even when we do become callous or protective with those boundaries because of the pain we've experienced from that father or that mother or that someone in our life, the perfect love of God drives out all fear. And I've learned that God can repay men a lot more than I can. If vengeance belongs to him, I don't want it. I don't want to live broken in constant fear of what man can do to me. I want to be perfect like him, whole, complete in Jesus, fully mature, wrapped in him, lacking no good thing, well-rounded, all-inclusive. I don't have time for the nonsense or the grudges or the anger or the petty arguments or the political posts that show my carnal or political affiliation more than my kingdom affiliation. I want to see Jesus high and lifted up. Because he said, we're not of this world. Come on, touch someone and say, we're not of this world. Well, maybe because of the virus, don't touch them. Just point to him and say, we're not of this world. He said it's in the corona. But we're not of this world. Recently, I was listening to Family Life today, and the host said something very, very powerful. If you can show that, Jason. He said, wounds and legacy come from family. Some of the greatest traumas you'll face in life, you experience in life, will come from the hands of those that love you, that you love. Jesus loved legacy, and he also loved families. He would tell generations of sons in the Old Testament, hey, I'm going to give you the blessing of your father. I'm going to give you the land I promised your father. And every promise came with a promise to extend or pass the blessing to the next generation. When he came on the scene, though, and he called men, he took them out of their comfort zones. He took them out of places where they were familiar, where they may have been wounded or hurting or mediocre or incomplete. In Genesis 12, 1 through 3, if you're writing with me, Genesis 12, 1 through 3, he told Abraham, whose dad had settled in life, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I'll show you. And I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great. And you will be a blessing. Come on, look at someone and say, I'm blessed to be a blessing. He said, I'll bless those that curse you. Hey, I got this. I'll take care of those that curse your name. Whoever curses you, I'll curse. And all peoples of the earth will be blessed through you. In other words, don't let anything mess with the blessing that's supposed to flow from your life. Don't let anything affect or dilute or contaminate the blessing that I've called you to pass to the next generation. When you feel like cursing someone, I'll take the curse on me. I'll become a curse on the tree. When you feel like cursing someone for what they've done, he said, vengeance will belong to me. I'll take that from your life. So the blessing of God, when people look at you, they see blessing. When they look at you, they see beauty for the ashes they've tried to cause. When they look at you, they'll see me.
Yeah, that's good.
Verse 6 through 7. Abram traveled through the land as far as the site of the great tree of Moreh and Shechem. At that time, the Canaanites were in the land, and the Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your offspring, I will give this land. If I had some time, I'd talk to you about how Abraham was of the lineage of Shem, who was the brother of Ham, the sons of Noah. And Ham, he was the father of the Canaanites. If I had some time, I'd talk to you about Ham, how Ham was the son of Noah that exposed his father's nakedness. And at that time, Noah cursed Ham and said, you will serve your brother Shem all the days of your life. If I had some time, I'd talk to you about how God commanded the Israelites to go into Jericho and take back territory that belonged to family, that had become contaminated, to deal with the bad family history that exists in our life sometime. Why? Because we are constantly taking territory possessed by something related to us, exchanging something related to our past, unlearning and relearning things in our life, taking things that have become habits and generational curses and taking the DNA of Jesus and changing those things for our children and grandchildren. Because our family history drives everything that we do. It drives our behaviors and our decisions. And sometimes the more you say, I'll never be like her or him, the more you realize how much you are like her or Jesus comes on the scene and he calls disciples to drop their father's nets and follow him. And some of them said, hey, let me bury my father first. Now, the father hadn't died, but they were just simply saying, I got responsibilities. I got an inheritance. When he dies, I got to take care of. Let me bury my father first. Jesus simply said, let the dead bury the dead and follow me. Then in Matthew 10:34-37, in the New Living Translation, here's what he said. To explain this, it wasn't that he did not have a regard for family, but he knew that when God puts you in your family with your mom and your dad, or whoever raised you, he put you in their life for a season. And then when you came to an age of accountability, the God who knew you before you were formed would become the person you would have total and utmost allegiance to. Are you with me? Here's what he said in Matthew 10:34-37. Don't imagine that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I came not to bring peace, but a sword. I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Your enemies will be right in your own household. It's not an easy verse to read, and especially the next part. If you love your father or mother more than you love me, you're not worthy of being mine. Or if you, watch this, love your son or daughter more than you love me, you're not worthy of being mine. In other words, don't love your family more than loving what is right. Loving doing the right thing, loving the righteousness of God. He said, if you love your family more than doing right, you're not worthy of the kingdom. Don't let your righteousness be up for negotiation. There will be lines that you may have to draw, but he'll show you how to do it in a loving way. He'll show you how to do it in a way that you can still pass the blessing and not pass the curse on to the next generation. Jesus came to test our allegiance to all that is in him. Not all that is in Republican, or all that is in Democratic, or all that is in family traditions. And remember this, when you look back to Calvary, it was human-stained relationships, strained relationships, imperfect people that put a perfect Jesus on the cross. Now catch that for a minute, because the broken relationships, the estranged relationships in your life will try to beat you, mock you, kill you, and leave you for dead, because that's what they did to Jesus. The conflict of humanity required the peace of a Savior. The sinful nature of man crucified the righteousness of God. He was right when he was wronged. But Jesus comes on the scene to cleanse us of all of that bad family history, to cleanse us of all of the curses and all the things that we felt that we would have to deal with in life, because we felt we were broken, or we felt we were individuals that couldn't deal with or couldn't comprehend what parents or what people had done to us. He came to cleanse us of repeated offenses and generational curses that exist, because his blood is stronger than the nails that men put into your life. His blood is stronger than 1,000 tongues that accuse you in life. His blood is stronger than the sin-stained bloodline you and I were born with. We weren't born perfect, but we were raised by a perfect Jesus and a perfect God. Who commands us to love, to have a remarkable love that is unlike anything that men and mankind have ever seen. I was in CNN recently for participating in the 2020 Tip Challenge, and I went to a restaurant, and they give you the receipt, and the tip receipt shows how much 15% would be, how much 18% would be, how much 22% would be. And the 15% tip was something like, if not mistaken, I think it was maybe $10, $9 or $10. The 18 was $12, and the 22 was like $16. So I just decided to give $20.20. to mark the year 2020. And then I wrote a little 2020 note, an inspirational note, to them. Something that wasn't churchy, but inspirational enough to them. Because you never know what people are going through. And so CNN picked it up, and you can look on my Twitter and you'll see it, but some people were really, really upset with me, and they began to attack me, and they began to say, well, how dare you tip only $20.20? You should have tipped $2,200.20, and it just got really, 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 really bad. There was one guy that even said, well, I was going to say there was a very, very small tip, but then I saw that you were African American, and you guys can't tip at all, so I realized that's a good tip. So I needed Jesus that day, but need to go to the altar on that day. Something else almost came up, but he had like one follower, and he didn't have any picture at all whatsoever. Twitter took him down at one point, but I found myself, normally I don't respond to things that people say on my post, because my mindset is it's my post. Right, and I didn't tell you to come, and you don't go jump into Beyonce's concert and take the microphone. I didn't tell you to come and jump on my post and say. So normally that's my mindset. I'm just helping you. I still need Jesus with that, but that's my mindset. And so normally I just don't respond. Chris, man, I found myself like every time something came, I was looking at it. I was like, what are they saying now? Then I responded a couple of times. For the first time, it was very Christian the way I responded. Very Christian the way I responded. And God gave me a word during that season. He said, as a believer, expect nothing in return but persecution for doing good. Sharp criticism from the world. From people, from co-workers, from coaches, sometimes from people in your own family. Jesus said some of your enemies will be in your own household. Matthew 5:10 in the Passion Translation says this: how enriched you are when you bear the wounds of being persecuted for doing what is right. For that is when you experience the realm of kingdoms, of heaven's kingdom. In other words, you will be wounded by words. Someone used to say, sticks, stones may break, but words, no, that's a lie. Words hurt. You will be hurt by words and by criticism and the attack of people. It will be sharp, it will be painful and unwarranted, it will hurt. But your commitment to Jesus that provokes the persecution is the mark of the blessing of God on your life. It is the mark of greater things to come. And so God looks at the persecuted church. He looks at the persecuted you this morning and says, yours is the kingdom of heaven. Persecuted on that job, yours is the kingdom of heaven. Persecuted in that relationship, yours. How enriched you will be when you bear the wounds of that hurt. Yours is the kingdom of heaven. Because it's easy to love those who love you. Even the world does that. But it takes the Spirit of Jesus to love those that hate you, that want to get you fired, that can't see that you've grown up, that still treat you like that 14 or 15-year-old person that they knew. It takes something to love those people. Recently, I haven't been close to my father. He decided to put it on social media, so I'm going to put it right now. He did. Haven't been close to my father. And so recently I began to ask him, hey, why weren't you there in my life? It really hurt me that you weren't there. It really hurt me that I didn't have you in my life. And for the first time in 30 years, he responded to me and said, I don't even know if you're my son. And when he shared it with me, at first I found myself trying to counsel or spiritualize the moment that I was going through and saying, First I was upset because for 30 years he hadn't said that to me at all whatsoever. For 30 years he would get on me for not reaching out to him, and a son should always reach out to his father and talk to him. And he never mentioned it until I confronted him about why he wasn't there. At first it bothered me. And as I was going through it, I found myself then getting to a place where I wanted to say to him, man, that must have been difficult that you didn't know that. But then God began to share with me, you can't counsel your own family history, your own bad family history. Because if you don't feel this thing, you will stuff this thing in your life for decades, and it will resurface years later in your life like it did before. And that's when I realized that the only thing that I was responsible to do when I heard that from him is to bring that hurt and that pain to the feet of Jesus and to tell him, man, that hurt. And as I was in moments praying in that season, God began to remind me, when your mother and your father forsake you, I'll take you up. And where men have rejected you, I accept you. You're my son. You're my DNA. And when you have the ability to get to a place to love people like that, that's what God rewards. He enriches, he blesses, and makes you the envy of all nations for. God blessed me so I could bless others. He wanted to turn me from my sin so I could show others how to turn from their sin. He wanted to save my marriage so that I could help save other people's marriage. He wanted to teach me from my mistakes so I can warn others not to make the same ones. He wanted to pass the blessing. Touch someone and say, pass the blessing. Kobe spent about 20 years playing. And if you remember in the early part, they called him a ball hog. Josh said the best one. MJ was one too. But in his mid to latter years, Kobe learned that in order to be a champion, he had to learn how to pass up a shot. Sometimes we want to take shots at people. He had to learn to pass up a shot and pass the ball to make people better around him. And he did that. He wanted others to be great. This morning, what are you passing to people in the next generation? Kobe said this when he retired. If you can show that slide, Jason, to his daughters, he said this to the next generation. You guys know that if you do the work, if you work hard enough, dreams come true. You know that. We all know that. But hopefully what you get from tonight is that those times when you get up early and you work hard, those times you stay up late and you work hard, those times when you don't feel like working, you're too tired, you don't want to push yourself, but you do it anyway, that is actually the dream. That's the dream. It's not the destination, it's the journey. And if you guys can understand that, what you'll see happen is that you won't accomplish your dreams won't come true. Something greater will. And then he points to the championship rafters. And if you guys can understand that, then I'm doing my job as a father. Come on, touch someone and say, pass the ball. 2020, pass up the shot you can take against people. Watch the integrity of what you're passing to your sphere of influence. Don't pass resentments and bad habits and attitudes to people, because life is not guaranteed. Hug and love your family without expectation. Don't keep grudges. Try to stay as close, no matter how difficult it or they can be at times. How difficult you might be at times. Try to stay close, because you just never know how many days you have with them. Pass the ball. Pass the blessing. Pass a smile. Pass forgiveness. Pass righteousness. Pass what you didn't get from your parents. Pass the blessing of God. You can honor, watch this, you can honor your mother and father or your family by being better in your generation. You can do that. You can honor your family by being different in your generation. And God chose you in this moment to make sure it'll never be a memory that you'll regret, so that you could be a carrier of the blessing of God, not of the curse of God. While your heads are bowed, your eyes are closed. Master, we thank you that you've called us to pass the blessing. You've blessed us to be a blessing. And as we walk out of this place today for Super Bowl Sunday, we want to be super. We want to be remarkable, that people and nations remark about us. We want to show this awesome God that we serve, so men will stand in awe of the love and the long suffering and the grace you've placed on our life. We thank you that today we go with new clarity, a new sense of purpose, to understand that you've called us to honor our previous generation by being better in this generation. We pass that blessing. We ask that you heal every hurt, every pain, every broken relationship. We don't spiritualize our brokenness today. We understand that there's the truth of what's happening. We're grateful that you'll help us process that in the house of God, through counseling, through the word of God. You'll help us process the pain that we have stuffed for years, so that you can be manifest, so you can be glorified, so you can be seen. We thank you that today our desire is that you might be seen, because you're a God that sees us. In Jesus' name we pray. All of God's people say.